Welcome to another episode of First Step, where we get that insider scoop from the leaders in their industry as to the steps they took to get them to where they're going today, or to get them to where they are today. And with us, we have uh, an individual who probably needs no introduction. He commands presence on the airwaves for one of the top morning radio shows in the country. Very humble brother, very driven brother, very talented brother. And I guess the story that he would share with us today should at least help spark somebody in, jumping off that seat and hitting the road hard. So without any further ado, we have with us today Mr. Richard Trumpet. Richard, how you doing?
Yeah. Hey, what going on, boy?
Everything nice. Everything real
Nice.
good. Richard,
Nice, man.
Richard, again, I want to really thank you for making the time,
So,
again, under these circumstances, what we're facing, to share with us today. I want to start off, Richard, with the not so conventional question of music. And this is
right.
where I knew you initially years ago, starting off in music.
Right.
I would have come across it in studio actually by Giandre. That's my first
Right.
connection with you, right? And
Yeah.
you were doing a song. I said, "What is brother could sing one?" And what started you off in music? Has that always been a passion for you coming up, or?
Yeah, music definitely was the passion for me. That one thing that I had a burning desire for would have been music. Back in the days of secondary school, me and some friends would have formed a vocal group, and we used to be singing sometime at functions, weddings, so on and so forth. And it's something I really like I would forget everything else and sing whole day.
Right.
That used to be the vibe. So that was my first passion. Music and singing was the first passion. And I remember I met Daryl Braxton, right? And Daryl would have been the person who, well, he knew that I love R&B and dancehall and those type of things. And Daryl was the person who would always be driving at me to try soca and do soca, because he was like, you're from here, Trumpet, that's part of you.
Right.
So as much as you like your dancehall and you like your R&B and sing, yeah, you had to really try and do soca, because that because Daryl was the type of guy, he liked hip hop and R&B and all of that too, but he always used to drive me towards soca, because he would have seen what soca would have done for people that he would have worked with, right? Like KMC and Garland and so on. So that's why you were saying, like Trumpet, you had to do soca, you had to do so. That's what drove me towards soca. He was actually the person who inspired me to start writing so in the first place.
Right. How long did it take for you to actually make that transition to the soca, I guess, after, because I guess that's something a lot of people face, that passion might be singing dancehall or R&B, especially young people. Somehow it seems not so cool as a young Trinidadian to do what is for Trinidad then. How long it took you to move from the R&B and all of that and to follow Braxton's advice?
It didn't take too long, because I started off like writing groovy soca and raga soca and that kind of vibe. So it was basically like the same thing, but just, a different BPM, a different vibe, a different energy. So it didn't really take too long to make the transition. It was like a real normal transition. And then the artists who would have been around the studio that Braxton was working out of would have went through the same kind of thing. It would have had artists who were R&B artists who I would have known singing, like people like Precious, for example. Precious was a real R&B kind of singer, and then she branched off into soca. Garland was dancehall, you know what I mean? So it wasn't really a hard process. It was a real smooth, and it took like about just a few months, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Because I was thinking, you know, like I tried influencing some younger guys now because they into the hip hop. You know, hip hop is a huge thing right now. Hip hop, for the
Right.
first time, I actually find hip hop because in the Caribbean, I found we always used to gravitate to Caribbean stuff. So dancehall would
Right.
have always had the edge in terms of the urban song, you know, dancehall and then hip hop and soca would have been following somewhere down the road. But now hip hop has taken over. So I am now trying to influence some of the guys who are, you know, inclined to the hip hop to take a little stab at the soca now. It's a work in
Right.
progress still, you know. But how important do you think it is to be able to express yourself as yourself, being a Trinidadian or whatever you are inclined for, or you, whatever is your natural root then to
Right.
express in that area? How important do you think that is?
You see now a lot of artists who would have wanted to deal or dabble in genres outside of our indigenous music. They find like they, in a lot of instances, they take on a persona of somebody other than who they truly are, who they, things that they would normally say in everyday life, things that they would normally, you know, talk about. You would find only very few hip hop artists or R&B artists would be able to incorporate who they truly are, their natural self,
Right.
the natural twang that we have when we lime in, the natural songs that we have, the natural vibe and energy that we have. Not a lot of artists would have been able to capture that. So it I think it's a lot easier when you do our indigenous music, regardless of what it is. Who would have over the years gone by, who would have veered towards rap, so who would have done hip hop? There are local hip hop artists who would have been able to incorporate that hip hop vibe, but still give it that local swing to it. There are many people like Make It Happen, people like when Nebula 868 was doing their thing, you know, Mark Hardy, them fellas, they would be able to, you know, incorporate that vibe. You could really see that, yeah, that is a Trini boy.
Right.
Regardless if you're rapping or whatever, you'll notice that's a Trini. But when it comes to soca, for example, is us. That's you don't even have to try
Right.
to do it. Like it's a part of who you are. That's how you grow up. That's where you know. That's in your blood kind of way. So it's something that is really easy, and almost anybody who is into music would find it real easy to do our type of music, because that's who we are. That's natural.
Right. How much of doing you then would have helped to shape the Richard Trumpet as he is as a man today? You know, initially we would always start off with influences, but how much of you and coming into your own and realizing yourself helped to bring you to where you are today? Moving probably from music now into radio.
Into radio. Now, you see, the thing about it is that regardless if you're artist, you're a radio personality, whatever, a lot of times you would be influenced by different people. You'll be influenced by your favorite artist. You might be influenced by your favorite radio announcer, your favorite radio presenter. Um, and nothing is wrong with that. That's natural. That's a natural thing. However, being inspired by, as opposed to trying to copy something else, you would learn different things from different people, and you would have your natural personality. You don't ever shine through and build your own product. The only time that really happens is when you incorporate who you are yourself. A lot of people take some time to find themselves, and that might be the issue. And I'm talking about away from wherever they're doing it, because sometimes you're doing something and you don't even know who you are. You don't know who you are as a person. You don't know what makes you tick. You don't know what lights a fire. You don't know what, because you try so hard to imitate others that you would have lost yourself. I remember in my early broadcast career, that would have been an issue that I had, because I would have been, no, I said that music was my first passion. Now, the thing about radio is that radio became a passion for me. And it became a passion because of music. Because when I did my very first recording, it played on some stations, but there was a station that it didn't play on. And that station was the urban station at the time. And if it didn't play on that station, forget.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I developed the passion for radio, because I had to tell myself, listen, I had to go on radio and play my own thing, because me going through that. So that's how the passion developed. Now, I took the passion to another level, because similarly to music and how I knew music, like I'm an introvert. A lot of people wouldn't know that. Wow. I could lock up inside of my room growing up for the whole day. And that's how I used to be with music. Now, being a part of a vocal group and a harmony group, what happened is that I would sit and learn all the parts. So I would learn the soprano, I would learn the alto, I would learn the tenor, I would learn the bass. And when we come together as a group now, I showing them fellas, you are going this way, this one going so, right?
Right.
That's how nerdy I was. Yeah, I used to call myself, I was real nerdy in the thing. I want to learn every similar to radio. So when I developed that pan for radio, what used to happen is that I would sit and record the broadcasters who I would have wanted to emulate. I would have sit down and record their entire program. And then I would try now to go back and mimic them, mimic their ad-lib style, mimic how they do a feature, mimic how they read this, I was real nerdy in the thing. Until I had different tapes. I would have friends come and check me and thing and see tapes with certain broadcasters' name on it. You'll see a tape mark Jason Williams. You'll see a tape mark Tweez. You'll see a tape mark Paul Richards. And men would have been like, Dan, what is this? You going mad? But that was how passionate I was to do the thing. That I actually take the time to really, really learn from the outside. This is not from the inside. It is not me even doing broadcasting course or anything yet.
Right.
This was just me developing this determination to be on radio. Wow. Right? And my brethren would have done a similar thing from a DJing aspect. No, because we decided to form this team, right? And I would have been behind the mic and he would have been DJing. So he would have done the same thing, but from a DJing aspect.
Okay.
And that's when I went to broadcasting school, right? And did a broadcasting course and so on and so forth. Or one of the top students from the broadcasting school. And that's how my passion for radio started. So it's always good to look up to people. And I mean, it's just like basketball is one of my favorite things. And you would when you're checking Kobe Bryant's story, you would see him reference a lot of times to Jordan. Now he would have wanted to do this move just like Jordan and do that just until he developed Kobe. But he started off emulating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened with me as far as radio.
So in terms of isolating yourself and just going in on your craft, even before you decided to go into a school to learn, I guess, the fundamentals of broadcasting. So you had that passion in you and you decided now to work on it. I trying to get now a actual day in the life of Richard Trumpet prior to radio in terms of how hard you were going at the practicing. Were you like obsessing about it? You make it a routine?
I think it was really obsessing over it. And that did not come from, that hunger wasn't based on radio. I think that hunger was based on music success. And when I did my first recording and it didn't play, I went into a depression for like a couple months. Wow. I wasn't talking to nobody. I was sour right through because, let me tell you something before we get back to radio, what really went on with our first recording is that
Who did the production for you on that one?
Darryl Braxton did the production of my very first recording, right? And I get gas up so much for that tune that I tell myself that was it. Like I had already, let me tell you, let me explain it. Let me show you. Because I'm meeting people like Galen. I remember Braxton called me a day and tell me that he played the tune for Galen. Mm-hmm. And Galen there and he say, come and check them. So I went and I checked them, right? And Galen, I remember the first thing this man asked me, say, Dan, where you working, boy? I say, well, I work in Custard. I'm doing a little accounts clerk job there, ting. He say, boy, leader work, eh? That's the first thing the man tell me when he hear the song.
So you know flying high.
Yeah, I was George hear the tune. I was George like, Braxton, will you just find these fellas? So I was completely gassed up. So when it didn't jump off, I get real sour. So then I change over time when I come out to that sourness and then the passion that I had for music went into radio because I wanted to do a kind of full circle thing where, all right, let me get through on the radio to ensure that when I do my recordings, it will go up again now, boy. So it was obsessing. Right. I would listen to radio from the beginning of the morning show, right? All the way down till probably, I would listen to radio probably from 6 a.m. to midnight.
Wow.
And would actually make notes, would record different things and so on. And it was obsessing. When I say I knew how every program was structured. Wow. I know when the features coming up. I know when this going on happen, when that it was obsessing. Wow. And then practicing, or I would have gotten a little recorder and I would have been practicing ad-libbing. So I would, when I'm not listening to actual program, I actually have one recorder and playing a song on something else and then trying to ad-lib and back announce the song and this coming up and look out for this feature and all them kind of thing. Wow. So it was a real kind of hunger that I had. And when I did broadcasting and I got a job at a community radio station, reached out to me. They actually reached out to the school and asked them, well, if they had anybody who recently graduated that they could recommend. Right. I was one of the people that they recommended and I started on community radio, right? And actually, the studio for the radio station was at the top of Fort George, very close to the close to where they had the transmitter.
Yes.
Right. So that's where the station was. And it was overnight. So I was working from like midnight to 5. Right.
And you were still at Custard?
Yeah, I was still at Custard at that time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, after you finish work, you can't get transport to leave from up there. So you had to walk from the top of that hill to Bonds Road corner. By Bonds Road corner, say James to get a taxi to go down the road to make a quick bid and change, then to go back to Custard. So it was a real thirst kind of way. And I wanted to work on 96.1. Like that's why I wanted more than anything else. So after I recorded I did a new demo after broadcast school with Braxton again. Mm-hmm. And I used to go in front of Point One and stand up every morning.
To do what?
Waiting to see Paul Richards. He was the program director at the time. And I had my radio demo.
Yeah.
I had radio demo, bio, resume in an envelope. And I standing up in front of that station from after 5.
Wow.
Waiting to see this man. It took me a week before I saw him. Because every day I waiting, but remember I had to go to work too. So I'm trying to see if he would come out as soon as he done now.
Right.
But day after this man ain't coming out. I remember even talking when I got the job there. I remember talking to the security guard, and the security guard tell me, "Boy, I used to see you waiting, and I used to see, but this man is a madman. He coming in from the station every morning, standing up here." Yeah, wow. Because you see, another thing that influenced me when I finished broadcast school, that was at Announcers Broadcast Academy, right? That school was run by Holly Thomas. And he played, for our graduation, he played a video from Les Brown, where Les Brown was talking about his hunger and how his story when he got on radio. And he used to go to the program director almost every day or every other day and ask if it had any openings. And the man would blank him. He'll say, nah, it had no openings. And he'll go back. He say, but I see it 2 days ago. Why you come back here now? He say, well, I don't know if somebody died or if somebody fired or something. So I keep asking. He was talking about hunger. If you really wanted something, you had to be hungry for it. And that's something that stayed in the back of my head. So even with the Friday when I actually gave Paul Richards the envelope with the resume and the demo and the bio, even after that, every 2-3 days, I would call Braxton and I would say, Braxton, just call the man, just call Paul Richards and just ask him just to listen to the thing, because I say, I know them fellas busy. He might be just take the envelope and peel that aside. So you would, Braxton would have kind of like, I can't be harassing the man, same way Trumpet, but I will call.
Right.
And he call him like once or twice, right? And the boldest move that I ever made, I would think it would have been one of the boldest moves I ever made in my life, was my birthday is on the 14th of October, right? Now, the story what I gave you before that would have happened.
Like myself, boy.
Yes, boy. Yeah, boy. The 12th. Nice, man. Good vibes. That's probably why we just get so.
I feel so. Yeah.
Yeah, so what happened is that happened. I gave Paul Richards the envelope like probably at the end of September, the beginning of October. And I really didn't get any word yet. No call back, no nothing. But I just decided that I would have just resigned from Custard, because I tell myself, look, I know this is what I want to do. Right? I had no concern as to where money coming from or nothing, partner. I just decide, I say, listen, I say, God, I'm making this bold step because this is what I want to do. I don't want to do 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. Music and no day is what I want to do. Radio is what I want to do now. And get back to my music. So I resigned.
Wow. When
I resigned, and I resigned on my birthday, that's the day I gave them the letter with the 2 weeks notice. And on that very evening, this is not no makeup story. This is true. This is really on that evening, I got a call from Paul Richards saying the demo, and they want to have a meeting with me.
Wow.
Well, boy, that was like one of the happiest moments of my life.
Wow.
Boy, I run up and down. I do all kind of madness. Right? And, well, I went to the meeting. Even when I went to the meeting, I went to a meeting with Paul Richards. Then I went to another meeting with him and Chinese Laundry. And I remember the meeting, Chow was like, well, Paul listened to them. I listened to them. So probably when I get time, I'll listen to the demo. I don't have a next demo. And I give him a keyboard. What this man? He said, nice. And that was, I ended up getting the job to just, at that point was just to observe, right? So every day I would just go in from 6 o'clock and I would line with Tweez and just, watch how he doing his thing. But the thing about it is that, remember, I was praying this from a long time. So I already know how his whole shift going now. Because I used to be monitoring on a daily. Right. So I just went with my learn notebook and I would just take learn notes while, eating. And, well, boy, that was it. The rest of that was history. I get overnight and then went from strength to strength from there.
Wow. That's lovely, because a lot of times we have a liking for something. We might even love it, but we might have I don't know if it's a something holding us back, and right. You're not prepared to make the moves then to get. You had this burning fire in you to say, you know what, you don't know radio that well, but you're obsessed right now, and it started off with you wanting to get your song played. No, I want to go back a little bit. You being a man from Picton Road, Laventille, where we would all probably say you starting at a disadvantage, so to
Right.
speak, in terms of the mindset of, what people may perceive an individual from Picton Street, Laventille to be
Right.
like, right?
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to set yourself apart? Is that hunger, did it come from your background, or it was just something you learned, or this was the one time you actually found something that you really felt passionate about?
I think there are different reasons for that hunger. One of the reasons would have been my father wanted me to be like a police officer or that type of thing. Like, he didn't believe in doing music and things. So that was stupidness now, right? So I just wanted to like prove him wrong, to show him, well, daddy, look, I really make something of this thing, because that's what I wanted to do. Apart from that too, I always had this desire in me to show brothers and sisters in the community that we don't have to be a product of what they say or what they think we are. Because the thing about it is, in my community is loaded with talent, like
It
people with
is.
amazing talent, like, and people with talent in music, people with talent in sport, people in talent with probably just storytelling, jokes, whatever the case may be. And they just feel like, as you said, they would feel like they are at a disadvantage or coming from behind. And that was always in the back of my mind too, like to show, well, look, not because we from Laventille or we from Picton mean that, we lesser than in any way. We could achieve just as much as anybody else. I remember even when I started radio, and different friendships would have started. So I would have been friends with Umba. Well, Umba was from my community, and Umba was he was playing music from a long time. He had that support from his parents and so on, who started that whole song system thing, Maxi Miller. And Shal became a close friend of mine too. And I remember when their program going on, I might have just go online with them and thing. And they used to call me Gold Spoon. So, and I didn't understand why they used to call me Gold Spoon, because their perception was that it's so hard to crack the industry, that somehow I would have known somebody who probably pull a link for me.
Right.
Until we really talk, and them say, wait, now that Trumpet, that's how you end up here. But I say, yeah, boy, it was no pull string thing, but I really, really wanted to be here. Like, I really wanted to be here. And I say, that are different. And you found respect, because, it's something that I really wanted to do. But that was part of the driving force, being able to show others in the community that, you can achieve regardless.
Beautiful. I want to know, so moving from imitating, which is a very effective technique to get your skill level up, moving from imitating and, molding or patterning your style, or being influenced by these other greats, as I guess at the time, what caused you now to harness your own and develop your own voice and your own style? How long did it take, and what brought about, the confidence to go there?
When I was working overnight, because I would have been working overnight like probably 4 days a week, but being in the environment with like a lot of people that you would have been looking up to for so long, I would have took the time I would always ask questions. So similarly to how I would have recorded Glenn Antoine show or Paul Richards show or whatever, I started to record my own show. And what I would do is I would give them little tapes, right? I remember I would have gone to CV Smooth. I would give her a tape. I would say, well, when you have time, I don't know if you would hear me when I'm on air, because on air overnight and you probably will be sleeping. So if you could just listen and tell me what you think, what I could do to improve, and so on and so forth. And they would give me little pointers. right? That would have helped me develop my own self, to bring my own personality to the fore. I remember CV would have given me a lot of points where she would have said, include more slangs, bring more of who you are. Like if you're in Picton, how you would be talking. You still had to maintain your proper English, etc. But bring that kind of swing to it. She was the first person to point me in that direction, right? And I remember Glenn would have described radio as more of a theater, and create, like, he would have called it theater of the mind. And he always said, create, make yourself a character. Whoever you see yourself as, bring that character to radio. Remember, I remember when he told me that this is not a job for somebody who's sane. You must have a level of insanity in you, because you're sitting down in a room talking to practically yourself, but you're talking to people at the same time.
Right.
And you have to understand that dynamic, and you have to understand that you have to picture where people are at when you ad-libbing. If somebody might be now driving the car for the very first time, or somebody might be home depressed, or somebody might be... So I would have taken the time to... How I molded my own personality is that I spoke to a lot of the people that I look up to, and they would have get to know me as a person. They would have pointed me in a direction as to how to bring my own self, my own true personality to the fore. It took a little while. It took probably, I think that, you see, the thing about this is really hunger.
Yeah.
In the sense of, I used to construct them overnight programs, like if it's daytime radio, like hundreds of thousands of people listening to me. That's
Right.
how I approach it.
Right.
I never approach it in the sense of, man, this is 2:00 in the morning, people ain't really here. Nah, I go in full 100.
Wow.
I doing programs on Jackio and Genia, Jackio full bio, and doing this. Like, I going in, I was really going in. And so that the different pieces of advice stuck me and helped me to develop my own style. I remember there was a time Chow even told me, when you punch that mic, when you open that mic, don't matter if it's just 3 sentences you say.
Right.
You must always make the listener feel something. Even if it's happiness, if it's like something that would start a conversational piece, if it's something that will make them feel sad and introspective, it's something that it must always, regardless of what it is, make them. So those are the things that were in my mind that made me develop my own personality. It would have took probably a year and a half until and that's when I actually got the opportunity to go from overnight radio into prime daytime radio. So I took that time to really develop the personality. It took a little while because it was a lot. I would be the first to admit that I imitated a lot from the people who I looked up to.
Right.
So the time you would listen to me, you would hear a bit. You would hear that I used to listen to plenty Glenn Antoine, or you would hear that I used to listen to plenty Paul Richards. You would hear that I used to listen to plenty Tweez, Rodney King. You would hear the different influences until it was all put in a pot and stir, and I brought who I truly, my true personality to the fore.
That's it. And I was actually speaking with Terry Lyons, and she said the same thing. Her break, she riding on this wave of success right now. It didn't come until she owned herself then.
Correct.
And decided to say, you know what? You try all them things before, you have nothing to lose again. It's you now. And you're right. I really wanted to know, from moving from overnight into daytime now, where you'd have a bigger listenership. and you now starting to find your own voice, so to speak. Like, I guess figuratively and literally. What in those experiences when you were on that frequency, how much of it then tied into where you are currently and the dynamic you have with your co-host? Because it's now, radio format now is a few people kind of interchanging or exchanging.
Right.
And how much of it would have tied into the success that that you all have right now in terms of you?
Right.
And there's so many brilliant personalities.
Right. Now, managing different personalities on a radio program is probably one of the hardest tasks in the success story. When I found my own voice, what myself and KLS, as we used to DJ together. When we home practicing, we used to not just play music, but we would try to always do a kind of program, or if it's playing in a party or whatever. Right. So it would have been a lot of bouncing. So I would have learned the art of bouncing off of somebody else from early out, right? The thing about radio is a thing where opportunities do come, but you don't know when they would.
Right.
So you always have to be prepared. I remember the very first time I worked during the day, it happened. I finished work like after 5 in the morning, and by 7:30, I got a phone call asking if I could work the 12 o'clock shift, like 12 noon. I am thinking 12 noon. Everybody hearing me, this man matter. But I still did it, and I was very nervous. And I remember Paul Richards coming in the studio and he started a customer. And he said, because he said, I hear how you saw overnight. And this is not what you do overnight. So if you need to close blinds in here and turn off the lights and pretend like it's 2 o'clock in the morning, do it. Because, and that's the thing, opportunities come. Like, next thing I know, another opportunity came by where I had to work the morning show with Nicky Crosby, and it was like, what? Because he had to miss like 2 or 3 days, and I got an opportunity, and you always had to be prepared, because you never know when the opportunity or that shot would come along. Next thing, I was working in the evening, filling in for tweets with Rachel Price. Now, working with Price is a whole different dynamic to working with anybody else.
Right.
But you have to, the thing about it is, when you learn to speak to somebody or work with somebody in their own language, that's what may make the marriage the sweet. Where that's when you hear the success. Like, for example, and this is not even just a radio thing. This is like ordinary human skills.
Right.
Like, if you know, for example, that somebody likes cricket, right? And they're a radio presenter, and you could tell them in a cricket language,
right,
they would warm up to you so quickly. Like, it would be easier to make the bounce. So that's a skill that anybody who asks me about the dynamic of working with different personalities, I always try to give them that bit of knowledge. Like, if you what do you know of your co-host? If you know your co-host like cooking, right? You engage them. You ask them, well, oh, you had made that big chicken. I see you post some big chicken there the other day.
Right.
Oh, you made that big chicken, boy.
Right.
And they automatically, if they had up a defense, if they didn't particularly like you or like your style or whatever, you would see the body language just start to change slightly. The shoulders might have been up higher and it might drop down a little bit now. They might feel because they're speaking to them in their language.
Right.
So one of the easiest ways to get that whole dynamic of multiple hosts to work is obviously, even if you're anchoring the program, or if you're just a co-host or whatever, you have to understand that you need to speak to somebody in their own language. It's also a technique for interviews, right? Like if you're going to interview, for example, someone intimidating, like the prime minister,
Right.
right? Something as simple as, let's say the prime minister's birthday was 3 days ago, 3 days prior to the interview. And you start off the interview by saying, hey, happy belated birthday, Mr. Prime Minister. I know you celebrated 3 days. Those little things tend to change the whole mood of it. So similarly with radio, it's something you're doing every day. And once you understand your co-host and you understand the things that would Price, Tim, anybody who I would have worked with, I would know the things that would flare them up, fire them up, get them upset, the things that they would be happy to talk about, things they're not happy to talk about. That's what once you have to take the time to know your co-host and able to create that proper synergy to make a radio program interesting, or else it could be flat and you could be listening to two people, one person singing like in the north and the next person singing like in the next part of the world, and you're not hearing that combined energy.
So
is a skill.
And now that, and then as you said, managing varying personalities, you in a space, one, you have to manage yourself, and then you have to then manage or interact with these colorful individuals as well, from Rachel Price to Karen. What I actually find you more like glue then. You are all, you manage, you somehow able to keep that balance, right?
Right.
Does that speak to you understanding your place in the whole thing, or is it just your nature to just keep that even road then?
A lot of people, regardless of, I know this is another part of it that could be a life lesson as well. Understanding you have to be strong within yourself and know yourself, right? And also understanding your role on the team. Now, if everybody can score, everybody can be the striker, everybody can be the one scoring the goal, everybody can be the goalkeeper, everybody can play midfield. You had to understand your role. And your role and your place in the dynamic may change from day to day as well. But understanding who you are, I've seen and I've observed radio programs and even television programs with multiple hosts where everybody is fighting to be the star.
That's it.
And you hear it, you see it. And if you're not confident within yourself, right, and confident in who you are, and you are struggling with your co-host to be the star, you would hear it. You would hear it in that program, and it is, to the listener, to the viewer, is not the best. When people understand their role in the dynamic, right? I can't come to work and expect to tell a joke like Price,
right,
or to give a story like Karen, right? That's not who I am.
Right.
And once I understand that that's not who I am, and I understand who I am, then my role in the dynamic becomes easier.
Right.
And I also, this is not from a boastful place or anything like that. This is just from me observing, right? I have done radio programs with a number of co-hosts, right? And every co-host, I would say the program would have always had a great synergy, a great coming together of different personalities, because I am not afraid of creating a platform for somebody else to shine. I am not afraid of that, because I know that if you shine, we shine, right? when the Red Hot Morning Show started, Karen was very, very new in radio. This would have been like his probably third or fourth week in radio, and he is on a morning show with an established broadcaster and a titan like Rachel Price. So that in itself is intimidating, right? And to be honest, Price is a country by herself, if you want to call it that, because you had to understand Price to be able to function and to get a dynamic to work with Price.
Right.
A lot of people may not be able to do it.
Very
no,
true.
I would have understand, and I knew Karen like many years before. Like years, we actually, when we expanded our DJ group, Karen was a member.
Okay.
And I am really good friends. Arion, who is Karen's brother, was one of my closest friends.
Okay.
So I knew Karen, and I know what Karen like. I know the choppiness Karen like to talk about.
Right.
And I understand now. If I wasn't secure within myself, I have seen radio hosts where they naturally put their co-hosts in a box because they don't want their co-hosts to take their shine.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and what people don't understand with this thing about radio is that sometimes you need to step down and create that space for your co-host to shine because one, they're going to grow. Two, it works well for the entire program.
Right.
I know I never thought about it like as a place where I don't want Karen to grow. That was always my intention. My intention is always to get my co-hosts to be their best.
Right.
That is always a goal of mine.
Yeah,
so, like, I would have done programs in the past with Umba. And my thing was, I wanted Ras to shine. I would have done one of the best co-hosts I would have worked with as far as radio would have been Whitney Husbands. We had a great synergy because I took the time and we became really good friends because of working on radio.
Together, right.
And it was because I was naturally interested in what Whitney what the things that would make Whitney tick.
Right.
Right. So our conversations would always be very potent because she liked basketball, she liked football, she liked sports, she liked fashion, she liked this, she liked that. So that's a problem.
On those topics, yeah.
Correct. And that's a problem that I would have observed with a lot of radio programs where, especially the person anchoring the program, they are focused on being the star of the program. I have worked with people who I didn't have a question who was the star on the show.
Right.
If I am coming into a program with Nikki Crosby, right? This is me on radio, 2 years. I'm not going to ask myself if I going to outshine Nikki Crosby.
Right.
I'll be dumb to think that. I can't go to do a drive time program with Rachel Price and asking myself if I could out talk Price or if I could make better jokes than Price or whatever. It was never that about me. I understood my role in it, and that's where a lot of radio hosts get lost because they are not insecure in themselves enough to create that platform for the other person to shine,
right? And
not understanding that once the others shine, the whole program would shine.
Yeah. And I think that is what lends to the success of the Red Hot Morning Show, in the sense of everybody has the lane and they know exactly how to operate within their lane. Even my boy Arion and all, he has his position. You hear him come in ever so often, but his personality is what it is. So it works very, very well. Moving on from that, in terms of, taking yourself as I guess more like a brand then, individually, as opposed to working alongside in others, because you also establish yourself as a voiceover talent, hosting events and whatnot. How has your approach now in terms of your style of being Richard Trumpet and your approach to radio and music, how has that been able to help you in transition into all these other ventures?
Once again, it has always been understanding, regardless of what you're getting yourself into, whatever market you're going into, you need to understand, one, the market itself, what the market would be calling for, and also understanding what you could bring to the market. You can't come into, like, let's say hosting. I cannot decide, okay, I'm gonna, people hearing you on radio every day, some people would like your style and so on, and they would call you to host an event. Mm-hmm. You're not going to host the event and say, I'm going to host this event just like Sonny Bling, because you're going to make yourself look like a fool. Why are you trying to be Sonny Bling? Mm-hmm. You had to be you. Somebody who is interested in your product and your brand, they're interested in your product and your brand for a reason, right? Regardless if it would be that they like the tonal quality of your voice, or they like your personality per se, they like your energy, whatever it may be. You know, regardless of what market you're going into, you have to create your own niche, create your own path. Decide what one of the best things to do is to look for what is lacking in whatever sphere. If it's music, what kind of songs lacking, what people want to hear, what not being done. So that's how I would have approached the different things that I would have gotten into, and the brands that are associated with me and my own personal brand. Mm-hmm. I always try to look for. It's hard to not emulate what is successful in our market. Exactly. It's hard, right? But anytime you create that space for yourself, that is something that they could never take away from you, mm-hmm. right? So whatever space Tim may create for himself, whatever space Richard Price or Sonny Bling or Whitney Husband or JW or Blaze, whomever, the spaces that they would have created for themselves, not the ones that they follow in the past that they would follow where somebody else would have gone before, but the niches that they created for themselves is not one that anyone could take away from them, because that's who they are. And it's very similar with brands. When you create a brand that is synonymous with you and who you are, it's very hard for somebody else to take that away from you. And mm-hmm. people develop that demand for your brand.
And the thing is, though, even though I think most times the biggest successes actually would be people who have found the confidence and the courage to stand up in the self.
Right.
That you would be successful being able to do what hot, emulating, because that is the song at the time that people want to hear. Mm-hmm. Even in music, me speaking from a production or producer standpoint, mm-hmm. everybody want, hey boy, give me that Marshall song now. Everybody, you understand? But they're not willing to venture out and say, hey, maybe like try something different, But I want to get at, in this competitive industry that you operate in, from music to radio, and just being a personality, how now now you try to kind of be relevant at the same time, you know what I mean? And sometimes being yourself mightn't really be, I guess, cool or what they're asking for. You know how you establish, being competitive, because radio is extremely competitive, and you all are in the brackets of the top 2, top 3 morning shows in the country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How you all, is it always tweaking, or how you all work with that?
Well, first of all, let me deal with it from a Red Hot Morning Show perspective. Mm-hmm. Something that I remember somebody I was speaking to recently, and they were quite shocked when I told them that we script nothing, we plan nothing.
Wow.
There are no overnight meetings to say tomorrow we're going to do this.
Wow.
Or we're going to do. It is completely organic. Now, the thing about it is that being the anchor and producer of the show, once again, I understand what would make a price, what would ignite a fire for Price, what would ignite a fire for Karen, what would ignite a fire for Arion musically. I would understand. So when something happens, I know, well, I could just, it's like almost making a heap of dry wood, right? And putting it in a pile and just taking some kerosene and a match and just flick it on it and just know how that furnace is going and just start to burn just like that.
Yeah, right.
So sometimes, so sometimes I would just come and say, surprise, you didn't see so ting yesterday, boy. And I know if I just come and say that, I know how the program is going to go for the next 20 minutes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is what I think, from being a listener and somebody who would have developed a passion for listening to radio. I think that when it happens more organic, it is more appealing to the average ear than something that would have been, stitched up from the day before or whatever. It always is, it will always be more appealing. And we have that show has so much talent in it that hardly ever would you hear this lull or
like
you don't know what's going to happen next, or dead air or something, because you have so much talent within that show. Where if Price not coming with something, or Karen not coming with something, I not coming with something, Atman going and play a particular tune at that point in time, that would, you understand? So it works. And I am blessed to be on a show like that is overflowing with that level of talent. But once again, you have to understand what you have. If it's a different dynamic or a different show, the producer and the person coming up with the whole basis for the show would need to understand what is needed for that dynamic. Because every dynamic would be different. One program, the people in one program would not be the same in somebody else's. That's not to say that the other program wouldn't be able to work. But you need to understand what are the ingredients and what would be needed to make that pot a successful pot, right? That's it from a radio perspective. Now, from a more general perspective, as far as the music industry, and this is very competitive, and because of because of technology and so on, now it's even more competitive, right? Yeah. So you always have to be tweaking. That's without question. You always have to be tweaking sound. If it's music, you always have to be tweaking your craft, regardless if you're a comedian, if you're whatever. You always have to be tweaking. But you also have to have a confidence within yourself and within your brand. Somebody like, for example, a Childish Gambino. He is a ridiculously talented artist, but he never decided to walk the path that other artists in his field, regardless of a hip-hop, R&B field, would be going. His style and his music is completely left field. He would always have a different sound, a different type of visual for his sound, he always did. And it took some time for it to happen. But when his success came, it was ridiculous, because it would have been something that people weren't accustomed hearing that sound. People weren't accustomed to the visual that he was bringing to the fore. So it was so fresh and dynamic that sometimes you have to stand your ground. Sometimes you have to believe in your product so much, because if you don't believe in your product so much and you just try to follow what seems to be successful, right? That if you don't stand your ground, you'll just get lost in the crack.
Yeah.
You had to believe in doing something different, in bringing something different to the market.
I remember listening to two separate interviews. One of Missy Elliott. She was being interviewed by Sway on his morning show, on his radio show. And she was saying that she loved well, she's a hip hop artist. She loves hip hop. So she would have, like you, studied it,
Right.
studied. But when she started producing her own music, she stopped listening to radio. So
Right.
she now could bring out her style.
Right.
But she still knew enough to know what was missing out there, that her style could find a space to fit that.
Right. Because it wouldn't be lost, right?
So exactly. So she wouldn't be like, where's this? This has no bearing on what music is right now, I watch any time, so I want us to kind of narrow it down. But I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
First would be, what advice you would have given yourself with the information you have now, with the hindsight, when you're now getting into music and moving yourself through the ropes to where you are to get into music and radio? What would the advice be now that you know to that younger Richard Trumpet? How many years ago?
The advice I would give myself is learn to separate emotions from your craft. Because a lot of times I would have allowed emotions to keep me back. The emotions that are, I think sometimes anger could be a real potent emotion when you feel like you have something to prove and you have that kind of hunger and a raw kind of vibe. But the other type of emotions, the depression, the feeling that, it's so unfair and it's so hard and fight down and minus yourself from that and try to do as much as you can. Like, you would find that there are a lot of artists, especially from back in the day, who would just go in the studio and record. And even when they would have passed, they would have left so much, right? Sometimes we kind of, because we wondering, well, this might get lost, that might get lost, and we hold back. But we just, once you have that creative juice flowing, you just had to create. That's what you're here for, to just create. Yeah. So that's why I would tell myself, separate the emotions from the business and from the creation process, and just do you.
Yeah. Before I ask the last question, one of the things based on this little conversation that we had here, you gave so much already, Richard. What I realize is you're a nerd in truth, but it's like a sociologist then, where you study human behavior. So everything would have been in relation to, so you study these guys on radio and how they were doing it, their behaviors, so to see what you could use to get you to where you wanted to go. You study your co-workers and their personalities. So I think that's your strength. You're like a sociologist then.
Yeah. It comes from observing. You have to observe a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. And the last thing is, I call it the playbook, right? And the playbook is the steps you would advise anybody who would want to get into, let's say, to radio or to their profession. It could be 10 steps, 2 steps, 3 steps. From step 1, what would your playbook be?
Step 1 is knowledge. Get as much information as possible on whatever you want to venture into, regardless if it's sport, music, whatever. You want to become an author, whatever it is. Get knowledge, and knowledge at our fingertips now. So it's that much easier. Don't limit yourself where knowledge is concerned, right? It is a 3-step process, and is something that I use not from a professional standpoint, but from any standpoint. You get knowledge. The second thing you need is understanding. And when you get the knowledge, you would probably have to reference. You may probably need a mentor. You may probably need somebody who would have gone the path already where you are interested in going, and they would be able to sift out that knowledge that you acquired and tell you, yes, use this, no, this wouldn't work, yes, try this, so on and so forth. So that level of understanding is what you need of the knowledge. So you get the knowledge, then you get the understanding of the knowledge. And the third part of it is application. You apply yourself. You apply yourself based on the knowledge and the understanding that you would have acquired. You apply yourself, you would know, all right, like I remember talking about this just on radio, like I think yesterday, with Jimmy Butler. He is a basketballer and he wanted to improve his game so much. And he, even when he had $1 million contract, he banned himself from cable TV and internet and everything to spend more time on improving his game. Right? That's what he realized he needed to, how he had to apply himself to get to the next level. And that's the application I'm talking about. Apply what you have learned, put in the work, and your success will come.
Wow. Richard, man, I want to thank you so much for making the time, and getting me technology too, because I know the Zoom wasn't initially.
Yeah. I never used the Zoom. So I had to download the Zoom. Yeah.
Oh gosh, boy.
But
Richard,
it was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So did I, and I learned so much as well. And I'm sure whoever viewing this would have gathered some information to help them as well in that step that they would want to take to get to wherever they want to go. Man, again, so ladies, gentlemen, boy, girl, man, child, dog, cat, you heard it from Mr. Richard Trumpet himself. The brother started from humble beginnings, remained humble, but very passionate, very, very, very driven, and study the thing, study the craft and practice the craft. And that's where he is today. And he didn't give up.
Real.
He didn't give up.
For real. Important. Very important.
And up outside our radio station, how much days like a madman? People watching you.
Yeah, madman. Yeah.
Wow. Richard, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. No problem, my brother.
Yeah.
Yes, I.